Umar ibn al-Khattab, His Life and Times, Volume 1, Translator's Foreword. These are tumultuous times in which much is changing. The Muslim Ummah is faced with new challenges which it must meet and overcome, whilst also striving for its very survival in some parts of the world. Those who study history know that there are patterns and scenarios that are repeated over and over again as nations and empires rise and fall. There is very little that has never happened before in one way or another. The current emergence of the New World Order is in many ways nothing new. During the period covered in this book, the life of Umar ibn al-Khattab, the Muslims were also faced with a new world order as the old powers declined, and the new and vibrant movement of Islam moved to center stage. The new world order of Umar's time was controlled by Sharia and motivated by the desire to spread true guidance, unlike its modern counterpart, which is controlled by corporate interests and motivated by greed. However, many of the challenges faced then and now were and are matters that are not addressed directly in the Quran and Sunnah. This is where the author of this book makes a valuable contribution by showing in detail how the Muslim leadership during the golden age of Islam was able to rise to the challenges and deal successfully with them at a time of intense confusion within the Muslim Ummah as to which approach is best. Amid conflicting calls to follow the way of customs or traditions or to modernize and follow the West, this book provides a practical model in the life of Umar ibn al-Khattab of how the Muslims can draw upon the lessons of the greatest era in Islamic history, that of the Prophet and the rightly guided caliphs, and apply it in practical terms to the issues that face us now. Umar sought solutions from the Quran and Sunnah to the problems and challenges the Ummah faced, but he was not rigid or literal in his approach. He realized that simply repeating what has worked in the past was not always the answer, and that it was essential to understand the spirit of Sharia as well as the letter of the law. His approach was innovative in the purely linguistic sense, yet still firmly within the boundaries of Islam. Although he was a man of immense and profound knowledge, he consulted other scholars, knowledgeable people and experts at every step of the way. When an important decision was to be taken, he would summon the senior Sahiba and consult with them, and the decision would be taken by consensus only after thorough debate. Far from being a distant ruler, Umar was one whose approach was very much hands-on. During his nightly patrols of Medina, for which he was famous, he was able to discover what the common people thought and was able to take action accordingly, such as when he changed the rules to allow a stipend to be paid to Muslim children and on birth, and not and on the time they were weaned, because that ruling made mothers hasten to wean their children, which caused suffering to their infants. When faced with the extensive famine of Ar-Ramida, Umar was especially close to the people, ensuring that all were cared for, providing food for the refugees who flocked to Medina and, leading by example, ensuring that he did not eat any better than his people. He also took the bold step of delaying zakah payments and suspending had punishments for the duration until the rains finally came and life returned to normal. During the plague of Amwas, he also introduced what we would call emergency measures, such as placing restrictions on movement into and out of the affected areas. In military matters, although he was based in Medina, Umar kept a close eye on the campaigns and directed the course of battle through an extensive communications network. Umar was kept informed of the troops' progress and received intelligence about the lay of the land and the enemy's strengths and weakness, and was thus able to issue detailed instructions. But his interest went farther than that. Umar felt that he was personally responsible before Allah for everything that happened in the Islamic State, even the widows in Iraq and even the livestock. Once lands had been conquered, that was not the end of the matter. Unlike the old Bedouin approach of attack and retreat, he took care to ensure that the new lands were incorporated fully into the Islamic State and that the message of Islam was spread to their people. Thus he established new cities as military bases, but also as centers of learning and dawah. Their fair treatment of the non-Muslims who came under their rule also contributed to their success. The vassal peoples of the old Roman Empire welcomed the newcomers who treated them with mercy and justice. When the Muslims found themselves unable to defend the people of Homs in accordance with the terms of their treaty, they returned their jizya to them, and the people of Homs looked forward to the day when the Muslims would return to rule their city again. This approach won the hearts of many who embraced Islam willingly. It is worth noting that most, if not all, of the lands which Umar won for Islam with this approach are still Muslim today and are mostly Arabic-speaking. Along with the other Sahiba, Umar did not let victory make him become proud or arrogant. They believed that victory came only from Allah, and that their duty was to put their trust in Him and give thanks to Him, as well as the numerous practical examples of leadership are given. This book presents us with an important lesson which all Muslims need to grasp, which is that the Ummah's strength does not lie in money, natural resources, or numbers. We have all of these in abundance today, whereas the Ummah at the time of Umar had very little of any of them. The source of the Ummah's strength lies in Islam, in its adherence to the way of the Quran and Sunnah. Having tried all the isms and ideologies of the last century or two, which have all failed and have led only to an increase in the human misery of the Ummah, it is time to recognize that we have no choice but to return to Islam and take it seriously, as the Sahabas did. May Allah reward the author for his extensive research and for presenting such important information to the Ummah, lessons which we have never needed to learn more than we do now. Umar ibn al-Khattab.